This is the Awakened Journalists with Emiliana Molina Fajardo. We do journalism for the good of humankind. Our main goal is to empower, inspire, and enrich your life with every interviewee that opens up to share their personal journey. We tell stories in English and Spanish. So hi everyone, welcome to the Awakened Journalist. This interview will be in English. We're going to be speaking to Jose Aristimuño. He's a VIP media. He's the CEO of VIP Media. He's a communication and marketing strategist, an American TV personality, and he was the former Deputy National Press Secretary for the Democratic Party, as well as a Hispanic media spokesperson under the Barack Obama presidency around 2014, 2015. So I know Jose since probably around that time as well, probably since around 2014, 2015. And we met as colleagues because he was working under certain government officials, and he's been working in politics for quite a while. And after the 2016 elections, when Hillary Clinton lost, he had a period where I think he stayed without a job for quite a little bit and decided to move to Florida. So, but during those years when he was working as a politician, we began to establish a friendship as well. So I've known him for quite a while, and we both live in Florida now. And Jose actually has a really beautiful story. So we're going to share that with you guys when he joins the live. He's getting home right now. But to give you an update of our friendship and how we went from being work colleagues to friends, and now we're also still kind of working together. Jose actually hired me last Friday to interview speakers at an event that he is now hosting annually. And this event, it was the second time he hosted it in since he launched it. It's called VIP Mastermind. So he brings on speakers to share their personal stories and to share how they've turned their missions into their purpose. And to share how they are turning their entrepreneurships as well into soul-driven and heart-led businesses. So it's a really powerful story. He has worked on very high levels as a government official, and has a lot of experience, not only in politics, but in the world of marketing and communications. And his story is truly amazing on how after that 2016 election, he just really, truly didn't know what to do with his life or where to go next, right? Because all the people that thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win and then she didn't were left with, what do we do now? And that's something that's very common in Washington, D.C. every time that there's a change of administration, right? Everyone's betting that their candidate's going to win, and then when they don't win, it's like, well, gotta find plan B because we didn't win, so now I'm jobless. So it's he was really living life on the edge, and now he's a business owner. So he's the CEO of VIP Media. And to tell you guys a little bit of what happened last Friday, Jose actually hired me to for the second time that year to go do the interviews of the speakers that were going to be at that event. And so I said yes, and I went to the event thinking that I was only going to be interviewing the speakers, right? And little did I know, as when I walked in the morning, Jose's some of Jose's employees that were there were telling him, like, Emiliana has to be a speaker today. Emiliana has to be a speaker today. And I was just kind of thinking, like, okay, if you you know, if you need me to step up and be a speaker, I can do that. But like, what's going on? Turns out that that morning, Tim Story, who is a well-renowned mentor and coach for a lot of famous artists and influential people. He's the mentor for Kanye West. He's been a mentor for Oprah Winfrey, and he's just a very high level spiritual coach in the United States and across the world. And he has his own book as well called Miracle Mind. So it turns out that morning, and Jose's here, so let me invite him. Turns out that morning, Tim Story had canceled, and he was not going to be able to make it to VIP Masterminds. And Jose had asked him to at least send a video so that he could post it at the event, and he didn't.
What's going on, girl?
How are ya?
I'm doing amazing. So you were talking about what happened Friday and how.
Yeah.
So you know,
how Tim Story canceled.
About me. I've been in the PR world for the last 10 years of my life. Come from the political arena. Emiliana and I obviously met in the political arena way back when we were youngsters. We're still young, but we were younger. And long story short, I do events every year, the VIP Mastermind, like you were saying, where we bring top-level entrepreneurs to Miami to talk about money, marketing, mindset. And Emmy came last year to help us out with a lot of the interviews that we were conducting of the speakers there and so forth. And this year she came again to help us out and support. And last minute, sort of the way life sort of sometimes aligns, like you were saying, Emmy, team wasn't able to make it that day, and obviously a spot opened up, and being that Tim, the spiritual leader that he is, and having to work with Kanye West, Oprah Winfrey, and others, he was going to talk about mindset, right, and how and how you can have that miracle mentality that is so important, especially now in a post-COVID world, and the way things are going in the world. You know, things are tough for many people out there. And I think there's no better person to fill that void in that moment, to talk about spirituality, to talk about mindset, to talk about speaking your truth. And Emmy, was there, and I was like, there's no better person to do that than Emiliana. And I think maybe Emmy, obviously very spare of the moment, but some of the best things in life happened that way. And I think, I don't know, it must have been, I think that decision was made maybe at like 11 a.m. the latest, maybe. And I think Emmy was on stage, I think at like 4:30. Yeah, and obviously she, I'm sure you had an idea of what you wanted to talk about, because you do your courses and you've been in this field for a while. But you didn't have like a written speech per se, right? You didn't have like this whole thing prepared, right?
No.
So tell me a little bit about what went through your head when you decided to do this.
So it's funny, right? Because life, it's kind of like, so I work a lot with energy healing, and I'm very spiritual. So I believe in angels. I believe in all of that, and I believe in synchronicities. And that morning I woke up and I had like this really great feeling and this anticipation, but it's like, you don't really know what's going to happen, right? But when I was telling them that when I walked in, all your employees were saying, and Luis was saying, for example, Jose, Emiliana has to speak today. And then Mariana, your wife, started telling you, yeah, Emiliana has to speak today. So I was like, okay, I think that's my sign. That's my cue. I'm going to speak today. Like, you're putting me on stage. And it's kind of like when the universe, when you're resisting that growth, and when you're kind of resisting that change, because there's so much fear involved with public speaking and taking yourself and your entrepreneurship to another level. It's like, to me, my angels were kind of like kicking me in the butt and saying, no, you're not supposed to be here interviewing other people. You're supposed to be up here on that stage telling your story, because it's your time to shine. And so I was like, okay, let me put myself together. So you told me around 11 a.m. that yes, I was going to speak, but I already kind of had that gut feeling and that intuition. So I started writing a speech, and I was like, what am I going to say? And I said, you know what? I'm going to talk about everything that I've gone through the past 2 years. I'm going to talk about what led me to that experience of guiding others to speak their truth from the essence of their heart, because that's where the true story lies. And around 4 p.m., you were like, okay, Emmy, you're up. Like, let's go. I'm going to introduce you. We're going to talk about this, and then I'll just give you the stage, and you tell me your story.
Oh, yeah, and to be clear, right, like, she knew at 11 a.m. maybe that she was going to speak, but I never told her what time. I'm like, look, that's going to flow. I will let you know. And literally, I told her maybe like 10 minutes before, like, hey, after this, you're going to come. You know?
Exactly.
And it's funny because you've been in front of the camera, behind the camera, all these things for a long, long time. So, like, you're not camera shy, right? Like, clearly, right? Like, that's not a problem of yours. But it's different interviewing somebody that being almost not even the one interview, because, you know, you weren't really interviewed, but really just being the one, like, all eyes are on me, you know? Whether when you interview somebody, really, usually the eyes are on the people that are being interviewed. Obviously, the question a little bit, but I think the reality is like 70%. The person, and I've been on both sides. I've had my own programs, I have my own shows, and I've also been interviewed. But when you're interviewed, you know, I think not that the stakes are a little bit higher, but it's weird. It's a little bit more nerve-wracking than you asking the question. Because when you ask the question, you have the control, right, at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Right? So here you are on the stage, and here you are. You know, everyone, you know, everyone is paying attention to you, and you can say. And by the way, everybody loved Emiliana's speech. Everybody loved it. I'm just saying. I'm not even saying that because I'm on this live today, but everybody loved it because it was so real. I think people saw obviously or friendship, so I think that was cool and it was beautiful. But yeah, I think one of the top things people loved was that interaction because it was just real. It wasn't planned. It wasn't on the agenda, right? It wasn't on the agenda, but it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, and some of the best things in life are not planned, and that transparency that we showed on stage, I think that's really what connects with people, right? When you are able to speak your truth from your heart. So I'll post that speech later on for you guys to see it. It was truly beautiful. But with that said, that was my last encounter with Jose on Friday, and it was beautiful and amazing, and I was so grateful because he gave me this platform to start taking my entrepreneurship to another level. And I know that part of my mission is public speaking, but I was very afraid to start embracing it because you're right, speaking in front of the camera is one thing, like, and I can speak to the camera fine, but watching other people watch you as you speak, and you have nowhere to hide if you mess up. It's like, okay, here I am.
At least in a camera setting, usually you don't have an audience. I mean, the audience is the viewers at home, but it's just you and the camera alone having a conversation, right?
Exactly.
But it's really who is the crowd, the live humans watching you, the producers, the control room. But there's no 100, 200 people watching what you know. It's a little bit different, right?
Exactly.
And it's different. If you go to a manifestation, you go to a protest. Yeah, there's a lot of people there. But they're really not just watching. They're just kind of in the moment. They're doing their own thing. They're not really just watching you. It's a little different. I don't think it's like a whole nother level of idea. And I think one last thing too, it reminds me, I'm a big fan of Richard Branson. And I had the great honor of being invited to Richard Branson's birthday like 3 weeks ago in Virgin Voyages. So Richard, for the people that don't know, he's got the Virgin brand. He's got Virgin Records. He's got Virgin Atlantic. He's got Virgin Voyages, which is the cruise. He's got Virgin Hotels. I mean, this guy has anything and everything you can think of.
His own island.
His own island.
His own
Queen
island.
Elizabeth gave him like this, the title Sir, which is like the biggest thing. It's kind of like a president in the United States giving you the Medal of Honor, or like, you know, like the. So, but long story short, he's got a saying, right? He's got a line his whole life that goes like this: "Screw it, let's do it." So, and in his very like London age, you know, he's like, when they tell him, "Hey, Richard, should we go to space?" Right? He's got rocket ships that literally go to space. He's like, "Screw it, let's do it." You know. So this reminded me very much of that, right? Of Emmy being like, "Hey, I think I'm meant to speak today," and I'm like, "Yes, you are." You know, screw it, let's do it, and then we just do it, right? Like, you're never really ready for things. Yes, you should prepare yourself for things. I'm not saying like jump in an ocean, like not knowing how to swim, but like, there's a balance. There's a great saying that says, "Don't let perfect be the enemy of good." Don't let perfect be the enemy of good, because some people just sort of stay in this sort of cycle oh, I'm not really ready whenever I'm ready. And by the time you're ready, you're never really ready, because you will never be fully ready for anything.
Exactly.
Again, you should prepare to to a certain degree, but there's a time that you just got to do it. But anyways, reminding me of Screw It, Let's Do It when this whole thing happened.
I love
But
it.
it was beautiful. I know this is the beginning of Emiliana speaking on stage. This is the first one of many. And I can tell you from experience, same thing. Like, I've been on camera, on TV, whatever, for many years. But you're only on camera for 3 minutes, right? Like, when I go on CNN, NTN, whatever, I'm only there for 4 or 5 minutes. It's very, very, very short. On stage, like you said, you got nowhere to go, and you're there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the case may be. And I'm telling you, it was a little nerve-wracking for me at first when I started speaking on stage. But it's just like TV. The more you do it, then it just becomes natural.
Exactly. No, and I embraced every second of it. I loved being up there, even though my heart was shaking, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
Jose, okay, so let's dive into your story. And I'm actually so I already spoke about your trajectory as well in politics a little bit, and kind of our friendship. But let's go. I want to touch on something you told me the other day that I didn't know. And you told me that your twin sister passed away at birth.
Yep.
So, and you've turned this, even though you may not remember it, like, energetically or spiritually, you feel that, right?
I remember being in the hospital.
You remember being in the hospital? Wow.
I remember. Yeah, I remember. Wow. It was yesterday. Yeah, I have dreams about it all the time.
Wow.
It is. It's I don't know. I don't feel it as good or bad, but it's just like what happened.
It's there.
And it's funny because you have to pay attention to, like, your subconscious and what it's trying to tell you. Like me, that I just got appendicitis. I just got my appendix removed, right? Like 2 weeks ago. And
which he just had his appendix removed 2 weeks ago, and then he hosted a whole event, VIP Mastermind, in Miami, hosting speakers like 2 weeks after surgery. Okay, like, Jose's crazy.
Yeah, I'm a little crazy. I admit it. But I think the greats of life,
the greatest minds are the craziest ones.
Are the craziest ones.
Correct. Let's do it.
But this is the thing, right? Exactly. But the last time I was in a hospital for that long, Emmy, or the last time that I had surgery was when I was 6 months. So, before I went into surgery 2 weeks ago, I had sort of like an encounter with my sister, when my sister said, you're going to be okay. Like, you're going to be okay. I'm here for you. I'm here to protect you. So I left when you were at 6 months, but you're here to live for me. So don't worry about it. And when I had that conversation with her, Emmy, like, I had a tranquility and peace of mind that when I went into the surgery room or whatever, I just knew that I was going to be okay, and that my mission in life was not over, and I just knew, like, so I'm not like, I'm a little terrified of doctors, probably because of 6 months and of those things. I think I overcame that fear, 2 weeks ago. I really do think, like, I embrace it now. But anyways, but yeah, don't mean to interrupt, but like, the surgery, me having the surgery 2 weeks ago, I had a kind of heart to heart with my sister. It was kind of cool.
Which is beautiful because it brings everything like full circle, right?
Yeah.
So tell me about that situation when you were recently born, and then how that's bringing that full circle and how it applies to your entrepreneurship, because you told me, like, I'm not only living for myself, I'm also living for her.
Yeah.
And it's part of your mission in life. Like, and you're diving into it right now as you started launching VIP Mastermind.
Totally. And the more you realize that, like, I tell people, like, your mission in life is to figure out why you're here. Mm-hmm. Like, you're here, like, you're in life, you're here for a purpose, right? You got to figure out that purpose. I feel sad, and just sort of, for people who come to life and never figure that out. And a lot of people, I would say probably a huge portion of humans out there, they're just living in the rat race, not figuring out what it is that they want. And look, I don't mean, you figuring it out doesn't have to mean traveling to India, right? And being a yogi. That it means that for some people, right? But it's not always that. Like, even if you are a 9-to-5 person and you wear your tie to work, that's cool. You can find your purpose that way, but you just need to figure out. There's many successful people who make a lot of money, think about Tony Robbins, think about Richard Branson, who live their truth. They make a lot of money and they're okay. So money's not good or bad. Money is just energy. Money is just a tool that you can use for whatever purpose. But for me, as you start figuring it out, and people who are listening who might be young entrepreneurs and who might want to go into entrepreneurship, at the beginning it's hard because you got to figure out your identity, right? You got to figure out, like, you're pushed by the social pressures, right? You got to make money and you got to be on the fancy dinners and the planes and all this stuff. Which, if that's what you enjoy doing, like I like to go to 5-star restaurant, that's cool, but you're enjoying it because it comes from like a unique, honest place. But when you're doing it because of what other people are going to think, what other people are going to say, that's when it becomes toxic. Not even for other people, it becomes toxic for you because you start living this sort of weird, fake thing that you're. So I dealt with that a little bit at the beginning. When I became an entrepreneur, I found my identity in politics. Like, I loved that. I think I was pretty real there. But when I became an entrepreneur, I felt that I had to prove people like who I was, you know, and I had to prove people that I was making a lot of money, because if I wasn't making a lot of money, then people were not going to hire me, right? Because you want to be with winners and all these type of things. Not understanding that people rather see real Jose Aristimuño, who goes something like this, right? Like a roller coaster. I have my up days and my down days, and I cry too, and I have self-doubt, and sometimes I think I'm a failure, and sometimes, what do they call it? Imposter syndrome. I think, like, how am I teaching people how to do this if I struggle? If sometimes I'm not making as much money as I get, you know? So, but it took me a while. It took me really, I want to say, like 2 good years to figure out like who I was. I'm still figuring it out, because I think you never fully, you always got to sort of like, you got to always keep doing that work. But going back to my roots, going back to the very day that I was born, going back to my sister, helped me out so much. Because I said, okay, Jose, you know what I tell people? If you want to figure out how to be happy, go back to your childhood memories. Go back to your childhood memories. When you were a little kid that you were so happy, you were running around, right? Like, for me, what did I love about Jose, little 5-year-old Jose? I went to the farm, my dad's farm in Maturin, in the inner country of Venezuela, every summer. That for me was the happiest. So when I understood that, I'm like, I think Jose Aristimuño is happiest, or is very happy with nature. And I started studying that, and I started taking trips to Okeechobee, and I now go to Okeechobee at least once a month, and I rent like a little RV, and but I love it. And I am literally the happiest guy. Me living in an RV, like just being with cows, like the sound of animals for me, like, I don't know, for me, it's just me. So
do you want me to tell you a short story to interrupt you really quickly, but I'll tell you a short story about my childhood memories, because it was also in farms, and it's beautiful. I love spending time in nature, and one of the memories that often comes up to me, and that I was like the happiest in, is with my friends from school and with my cousins. We used to go to the barn area where all the cows were and the horses, and we used to grab the horse shit and throw it at each other.
Oh my God.
So we had literally horse shit fights. And I was so freaking happy doing that, because we were all running like, no, don't throw it in my face, you know?
Yeah, I love
it. It was like, it's genuine. It sounds gross, but I love horses, and honestly, I love the smell of horses and the smell of animals. Yeah. So, but it's hilarious, and it's those moments that are the most valuable and the most rewarding, when you're just being free. And but isn't that okay? But continue with your story.
No, so that's 100% right. So I tell people, you gotta go back to those times, recreate those memories. Like, literally go to the farm and have fights. I mean, whether it's with whatever it is, like go back,
do it.
do whatever it is. Like, and when you do that, you're re-energized. You think, I mean, like, you're more creative. The creative juices start to flow. You become a better, like, when you come back, like, from that fight, when you come back from those crazy, like, little memories, when you go back to your house, and whether, you know, a husband, a father, a friend, whatever, a boss, right, an entrepreneur, you're gonna be a better human being in every sense of the word when you go back to who you are. Again, it is we have it a little bit harder, Emmy, because we have this whole social media pressure all the time. Our parents they didn't have to deal with that. Like if you were mad at somebody 50 years ago, Emmy, you had to either call them on the house phone.
Mm-hmm.
They had to pick up the phone. They don't always pick up the phone because if they went home, they couldn't pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Right. So what happens is you had time to calm down, and by the time you spoke to that person, you se te pasó, or something happened, or life continued. Right. So now, no, if you're mad in the moment, you have everything like at your fingertips, and it can be a dangerous thing because sometimes we're mad in the moment and we say things we don't mean, we regret. Right. So I tell people just be careful. Social media is important, and I think it's a cause for good. It can help us do a bunch of things, but just just be careful. I think sometimes human interaction, like the VIP mastermind in person, going to the farm, giving a hug to your mom, all those things will never be replaced by TikTok, by Instagram, all that type of stuff.
That's so true. That's so true. Wow, Jose. Okay, so fast forward to your political career.
Yeah.
And election year in 2016. So you worked under, multiple government officials. I think you worked under O'Malley, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama.
Yep.
How were those years for you, and highlight, one of your biggest successes?
Totally. Man, I think the biggest success is that when you dream big enough and you say you're going to do something, you can actually do it. Sometimes life doesn't give you that exact goal, but if it doesn't give you that goal, it's going to give you something bigger, right? Mm-hmm. So just don't get sad if you don't get to the goal, because something bigger, God's preparing something bigger for you. But I remember, and you're from South Florida, Emmy, and you know this area, right? So I used to live in Coral Springs. I lived in Coral Springs. I've lived in Parkland, lived in Boca now. But I lived in Coral Springs, and I was a student at Broward College, Community College, North Campus. Didn't have the best grades in high school, barely graduated high school, and I wanted to get away from my group of friends because I wasn't hanging out with the best group of people. Mm-hmm. So I recognized that. So I said, you know what? I'm supposed to go to PVCC, Palm Beach Community College, but I'm not going to go there. I am going to have my parents switch my address so I can go to Broward College in Coconut Creek, because no one is going to know who I am. So since I recognized at 18 years old that if I'm hanging out with a bad crowd, I'm going to give in to the social pressures of being cool, and I'm not going to study, I need to go somewhere where nobody knows who I am, so I can kind of like find myself. So when I did that, I started finding myself. I started getting good grades. I started becoming passionate about politics. Started following Barack Obama. And when he got inaugurated first time around January 20th, 2008, when I was just sitting at Coral Springs, I think I was a sophomore. Sorry. I think I was a sophomore in community college. I watched him give his inauguration speech, and I said, I'm gonna work for that man. Like, I'm gonna work for this guy. I'm gonna move to Washington, D.C. Had no idea I was gonna go to American University. Had no idea, but I'm like, I am going to work. I'm gonna end up in D.C. working for this guy. And 4 years later, no, actually like 6 years later, me doing that, it's just crazy, right? But like, again, you have to have patience. It's a working process. I had to do a lot of things to make that happen. A lot of sacrifices, which I don't see sacrifices as a bad thing. I had to make choices, right, to make sure that I made that happen. But anyway, you asked me, Jose, what is your proudest moment? Me receiving a letter, meeting the president in person, of course, incredibly honored. But me having two things. Swearing in, the swearing in ceremony when you're going to go work for the government, right? I, Jose Aristimuñoz, do solemnly swear that I would, the same oath of office that Obama took when he became president. I had to do the same oath of office, right? So for me, just as an immigrant moving to Venezuela, not speaking a word of English when I came to this country, me doing that and swearing my allegiance to this country that adopted me, right? That gave, that sort of welcomed me with open arms. I think that was probably one of the biggest, greatest honors of my life. That's the first one. And the second one would say when Obama wrote me a letter for helping millions of Latinos being enrolled in Obamacare and saving women's lives and people who had cancer, who my mother, who's a cancer survivor 3 times, was able to, her life was able to be saved under Obamacare. So me getting a letter from the president saying, Jose, you were a key component in making sure that that happened. For me, that was, I mean, just beyond
Wow.
believable.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, look at, we were just speaking of Tim's story, and he just joined the live. Tim, you gotta watch the beginning of this.
Tim.
Of this.
He's coming to the next mastermind. He knows it. He knows it.
Yeah.
He couldn't make it this time, but he will be at the next one.
No, and you gotta watch the beginning of this video, Tim, because you not being able to show up opened up the stage so that I could give a speech. So thank you, Tim.
That's right. The great Tim story, miracle
The
mentality.
great Tim story. Yeah, no, his story was beautiful. His story was a miracle. He touched my heart when he spoke last year.
Yeah.
Jose, so fast forward to 2016, you quit. You didn't quit. Hillary Clinton lost the elections, right? And we talked about it back then, and I remember you telling me, like, I mean, you know, and this is really personal, but I mean, quite honestly, like, I feel depressed. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm like reevaluating my whole life. You're going through a lot. How was that change for you, and how have you turned that pain into your purpose and your passion and your mission and your vocation with BIP Media?
Totally. So, you know, it was tough. It's very scary jumping in, having a pretty good paycheck, you know, getting paid every 2 weeks automatically. And look, when you work for the government or when you work for like the Democratic Party, obviously very established institutions, you're gonna get paid, right? Like your paycheck will come every 2 weeks. You don't have to worry about if it's gonna come in or not. You're only worried really is like, you know, like if you want to think about like everything, right? Like, oh, I don't know, can I get fired? When you have a boss, your only goal is to perform. If you don't perform, maybe you can get fired. But that rarely happens if you're good at what you do. And I know that I was good at what I was doing, so that wasn't really a worry. When you become an entrepreneur, everything's on you. When everything's going good, it's on you. When everything's going bad, it's going on you. So but when Hillary loses the election, you know, the ego speaks to you a little bit, and you're kind of like, man, I already picture myself in the White House. Like, I'm going to go work for Hillary Clinton, and that's not happening anymore. Like, it's done. We're now in a Republican-controlled city, which is cool. Like, oh, you know, I have a bunch of good friends that are Republican, but I know the game of politics, and I know how it works. This city is going to change for the next 4 years at least. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, I don't know, I was a little tired of like the job competition. I have to go look, because now think about this. Hillary had over 1,000 employees. So you now have 1,000 political operatives looking for jobs. I was probably in the higher sort of pack, but it doesn't matter. I'm still competing with a bunch of amazing, high quality people.
The most qualified people in the nation, period.
100%. And I got some good job offers. I got offered a job with Bill de Blasio. He was mayor of New York. You know, I got a job offers in Congress to do communications, to be director of comms for like a couple of congressmen. But I think I was like at my next level. Like, I think I was ready to rise up to something bigger, something better. I didn't know what that was at the moment, but sometimes kind of like the way that you sort of you were given the opportunity to speak at BIP Mastermind, and that's going to open. That is a new path that you're creating. We don't know where it's going to lead you. I think it's going to lead you somewhere beautiful, but that's a new path that's being created. And we are always walking different paths at the same time, and that's okay. So I had a client. I didn't even know what a client was, but somebody, when we lost, they said, Jose, I want to hire you not as a 9-to-5. I want to hire you to help me do a strategy for a political candidate in Mexico. And I'm going to pay you this, and I'm going to pay you that. It's a 3-month campaign, and they're going to pay me well. And I'm like, wow, man, this is cool. Like, somebody in Mexico wants to pay me like a pretty good amount of money. They value, and I'm like, why are you paying me? I was young, right? Like, I'm like, why are you paying me so much? He's like, Jose,
I remember you telling me.
What do you mean? You've been working for 10 years in politics. Like, you have so much knowledge.
That's your value.
And I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool. I'm like, wow, I can actually charge for like all the years of experiences. Not only not only because people make the mistake, right, that I'm going to pay for my, I'm going to charge for my time. No, you don't charge for your time. You charge for the value, for the experience that you bring to the table. If it takes me 30 minutes to do a job, doesn't mean that it's worth 30 minutes. You know, it's worth everything I bring. So I didn't understand that at the beginning. And this person opened that up for me. And after I got done with that 3-month contract, I'm like, wow, I want to do this again. This is kind of cool. Like, I didn't have to go to an office. This is kind of fun. I get to call my own like rules in a way. And I started doing that. And poco a poco, you know, slowly but surely, you got 3 clients, 4 clients, 5 clients. And you know, and you know, I don't know. I don't think about, like, some people overthink, right? People have that issue of overthinking. And maybe I've had it at times, but I really don't. Like, I'm more like, just go, jump, and then figure out, like, oh my God, I made it. Like, I didn't think about the mastermind last year. I just said, I want to do an event. And I just said, let's do it. And look, did I learn a lot of things? Yes. Did I spend more money than I should have? Yes. Did I get into a little bit of debt? Yes. Was this year a little bit harder because of some of the decisions that I made last year? Yeah. And I admit that now. But the second event cost me $0. Literally cost me 0. I didn't spend $1 of my bank account because I had a structure. But I had to not even fail, because the last year was a beautiful event and it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
But I had to. There was a learning curve, right? Because again, it was my first event. So how boring, Emmy, life will be if my first event was a 10,000 audience stadium. Like, okay, then that's it. Like, it's a beautiful thing, to stepping stones and learning. You know, I love that. I just love the learning process, which is why, and I'm not saying this from like an ego perspective, but the reason why I'm very good at what I do in my business is because I know there's going to be failures along the way. And when they come, I say, okay, cool. It's just a stepping stone into something bigger. It's just a stepping stone into something bigger. So for the people that are listening that want to go into entrepreneurship, it's not all roses and beautiful things, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah, and the fastest way to success is slow.
Yeah.
And we have to allow ourselves to experience, to experiment, to embrace mistakes, because like Jose says, after every single mistake, there's a learning curve, and something better is at the end of the acceptance and the lesson that mistake brought.
And it's funny because sometimes when you go slower, you grow faster. It's crazy. But like, the slower you go, the better it comes sometimes, right? Like, I'm not saying like no movement is maybe not good, right? I mean, like, you can obviously meditate and stillness is good. Yeah, 100%. But like, you got to do the work, right? I mean, that's just a fact. You got to do the work. No one's saying here that you're going to sit, you know, in a hill and meditate and then everything's going to be, you're going to wake up. No, you got to go actually do the work. But if your mind is clear, you're going to know where to put that energy towards, right? Like, so there was a great video that I saw the other day that basically said, there's like 18,000 things, like, no, 80,000. There's like 80,000 seconds in a day or something like that.
Wow. Okay.
Right. But the guy was putting it like in a money type of thing. So he put like a pack of $80,000. He just put it.
Yeah.
He's like, if you had $80,000 and somebody took $100 or $1,000 from you, would you throw away the rest of the $79,000 because you were upset about the 1,000? No, you would be. I mean, maybe you'll be upset, but you still got $79,000 left. You'll be good. But the teaching, he compared that to time. If you have 80,000 seconds in the day and somebody takes 1,000 seconds of your day, do not spend the rest of the day being mad because of something that happened on 2000. You still got 79,000 seconds to enjoy the day. So I say that to talk about everything in entrepreneurship. You're going to have little bumps, right? People will not show up to a speech, right? Tony Robbins, one of his first speeches, I think like 10 people showed up, and, you know, he thought like 100 people and only 10 showed up, but that didn't stop him, right? Like, you know, you look at businesses, J.K. Rowling had 12, her book got turned down 12 times. Yeah. She's the author of Harry Potter, right? 12 times. Most people by the second or third turn down, they would say, well, I'm not worth it. I'm not a good writer. I'm not meant to write stories. Like, forget it, right? she kept going, and look at where she is now. So just don't give up, because usually when you're about to give up, you're like this close to to being on the other side of happiness or success or whatever the case may be.
For sure. No, 100%. Jose, so, and where are you now, and what's coming for you for the next few years, because you are now doing really well with VIP Media. Yes, you have struggles, and it's been a learning experience, but quite honestly, you have done so much, and you're doing incredible work.
Thank you.
Not just with VIP Mastermind and the event, but with the platform that you're giving other people and the exposure that you're giving other people. I'm an example of that, of how you've been a part in helping me shift from what Emiliana was back then to what I am now becoming, right? And this role in public speaking. And with that question of where you're headed, I want to bring in what we spoke about at VIP Mastermind, which is your full name, Jose Maria Aristimuño.
Sure.
And what that means for you.
Totally. Great question. I think this year for me is, I want to learn how can I add more value to people's life, but how can I do it from a how do I say this? Like it's a little hard to put into words, but I'll say it this way. I am the type of person that I want everything to be done like now, right? Like I love speed. Like I love speed. Everything I do, is fast. Like I'm a fast walker. I want, like, I eat fast. Like
you even speak fast.
I even speak fast. Like everything I do is fast, but I want to learn how to slow down. Doesn't mean you're going to slow down in the beautiful things that you're doing. But I do think sometimes if I go a little slower and I'm a little bit more grateful, and if I'm a little bit more just like living in the present, living in the now, I'm going to be able to do a lot more things. So when you become a father, or when you become a parent, and my kids are now 3 and 5 months, you sometimes stop and you're like, wow, man, I can't believe Maya Marie is now 5 months. And like, I've enjoyed her, but I've been so busy this year building the event, building things, and I'm like, whoa, man, like I want to dedicate like the rest of the year to just making sure that I'm in their lives. Like today I got to go to Maya's little storytelling. Like I didn't know they did storytelling for 5-month-old, but they do it. So it was cool because I went to Spanish River Library, near here in Boca, and that's one of the libraries that I first started like loving, information and intellectual. So today was a cool, like going back to my roots, right? My college years roots. And I got to spend time with Maya and Mariana, and they were playing and doing all these things. So how can I become a better family man? How can I become a better dad, a better husband, and continue to do the beautiful things, right? The story of the story of the power of your story, right? And understanding that, like, if I make people shine, like, I'm happy. Like I helped you. I didn't make you. You did it. You're on your own.
But you gave me the platform to shine. Yeah.
So that makes me happy. And like every speaker that was there that day, I gave him a platform to do that. That makes me happy. Like for me, like, I don't know. It just makes me happy, and sort of like I feel like that's my calling. I'm a messenger, and I like to amplify people's stories, because I amplify my own story through people's stories as well. But we're gonna continue doing the events. We're going to continue improving VIP Media, providing new services. How can I help more people? And how can I be happier? Because I'm already happy, but how can I be happier in the process? Because I think this country, this country is very good at many things. But in this country, people, it goes like this. In America, how does it go? In America, people live to work. In Europe, people work to live, right? So I think the level of stress that we face as a nation, especially this year with inflation and things like that, it's been very tough for people. And this is one thing. Do I want to make more money? Yeah. Do I want to help more people? Of course. But when you go into your next life, your next realm, whatever you want to call it, right? Your next phase, you don't take anything with you. You don't take $1 with you. So you have to make sure that you're happy in the process. I think sometimes I've given priority to my work over my family. And I think I have to make sure that, family comes first, then comes work, and then comes everything else. But again, it's a learning process. Sometimes you have to, at the beginning, I think, and spouses understand this. Sometimes at the beginning, the entrepreneur has to sort of like, just be all in the work, because the first year, most businesses, and this is sort of like a scary reality, but most businesses fail. 90% of businesses fail within the first year. Okay. And then 70% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. Most businesses do not survive past the 5-year mark. I'm on year 6, so I've survived. I'm very happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But you have to, put you have to sacrifice. Like, there are days I do a radio show, right? I have a radio show every night from 9 to 10. I got my VIP podcast, right? I got VIP media. I got the VIP mastermind, right? And then I got a family. So sometimes you got to just kind of like slow down. What can I do? What makes me happy? Like I said, like the nature is my thing, right? So like, I want to buy a farm. Like, at some point in my life, very soon, I want to buy something, whether it's in Okeechobee, whether it's in Spain, because I want to go back to those, like time is the one thing you will never come back, right? Like, I will never, like, when I'm 60 years old, I'm not going to remember, oh, I wore these fancy shoes to this event, or I had this $500 steak in Miami. I'm not going to remember those things, but I'm going to remember hanging out with my daughters and, doing story time before I go to bed. Or I'm going to remember being in the farm when you and I were young, fighting. Or I'm going to remember me giving the platform to Emmy, when she first gave her first big speech. And when you're speaking in a stadium of 5,000 people, I'm going to be like, wow, I had a little bit of, I had one little grain of
you marked that beginning.
Right. So those are the things you're going to remember, right? Not like what shirt you were wearing. And now, if you enjoy, again, because you also have to, people have people have this guilt, like they want to buy, like, I like shoes. Like, I like shoes. So, like, sometimes I'll go and I'll spend $800 on a pair of shoes, but like, I like shoes and I wear them all the time. It's nice. Like, it's fine. Look, nothing wrong with buying expensive things. Like, if you want to buy a Ferrari, cool, go buy your Ferrari. That's okay. But you have to, there shouldn't be like an attachment to it. Like, I'm happy with a fancy car, but I'm happy without the car. I'm happy walking home, and I'm happy on a bike, and I'm happy on my Mercedes. ¿Me entiendes? But when you start having attachments that Jose Aristimuño is the guy in the Mercedes, then it becomes a whole problem.
Yeah, no, 100%. Jose, and lastly, your name, Jose Maria Aristimuño. Because I've learned recently in the past year that we are given a name at birth, and that name has meaning and symbolism, and that name has power. Like, Emiliana means a lot of things. What do you feel Jose Maria Aristimuño means for you, especially taking into consideration the fact that your twin sister passed away 6 months after you were born, and you have a masculine name and a feminine name, because Jose is masculine, Maria is feminine.
And one thing too that's important, my sister's name was Maria Jose, right? Wow. So I'm Jose Maria, she's Maria Jose. So again, it goes back to we're the same person, right? Like, it's just the same name. It's just all you did was just switch 2 words. It's the same name, right? So like, if there's no better reassurance that we're the same person, I mean, like, the name gives you right there, right? Obviously, like, my family coming from a Catholic upbringing, Jose Maria, right? Like, obviously, like Joseph and Mary. So I think a lot has to do with that, with religion. I don't know, like, the symbol, like, I see the symbolism in religion. I see the same. Jose y Maria are family, right? Family, new baby coming. So I'm a huge family person, like, with family. Like, I'll be the happiest person. Like, I don't know if some people have seen, like, have you seen the movie Encanto?
Yes, I love it.
I'm very happy because Colombia has like a beautiful sort of, it's just, I love when I see our countries, being in the forefront of culture, of the American culture. It's just beautiful. But I would be happy, like, you told me, Jose, how would you be happy? I would be happy in a house like Encanto with my mom, my grandfather, everybody living in the house. Like, that's just who I am. I'm just very like a community type of person. And like in our countries, Emmy, we had that, right? Like tú te ibas para tu casa, caminabas, y está tu amigo, your friend was in the next, like,
Yeah.
this country's a lot bigger, right? Like Colombia is like the size of one state in America. Same with Venezuela. This country is crazy because people move to California, people move to, so it's a little bit harder to do that. So anyways, I don't know. Like I see Jose Maria more on the religious family orientation. I would love to see, like, to dig deeper on what it means and everything. I don't know. But maybe you and I have to chat sometime and figure that out.
Perfect. No, we will. And I think you got, the essence of it right there, right? Like, the fact that you are living for yourself and for your twin sister, and that her name was also Maria Jose. So I think that's at the essence of it. So that gives you double the force to carry out your mission in life. Is part of how I see it as well. Jose, un placer, como siempre. Sabes
Claro
que
que
te
sí.
adoro. Mándale un besito a Mari.
I will.
Thank you for being here.
We gotta hang out soon. We're too close not to hang out in person.
I know, exactly. No, we do. Okay.
We'll make something happen soon. Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me to this beautiful life. I look forward to doing it again soon. I gotta have you on my podcast, on the VIP show. So let's make that happen. Hopefully sometime in September, October, the latest. But I'd love to have you there to talk about you and yours and everything that you've been transforming. Okay, and your courses and everything you're doing. When is your next taller?
So the next one is September 8th. So I'm guiding people to speak their truth from their heart, and as well as media training. So how to be on camera and how to speak your truth on camera, but making sure that truth is coming from your heart, from your essence, from your authenticity, so that you can deliver that message to the world or where it corresponds for you to deliver that message, right? But everything's
I'll tell you one more thing too. Aside from the VIP mastermind, talking about Jose, what do you want to do in the future? I plan on doing VIP masterminds, like exclusives, okay. In destinations. So like I'd love to do like a VIP. It won't be like 150, 200 people, but it'll be like a 25, maybe 20 people type of VIP mastermind destination where we go to either Tulum or we go to Cabo or we go to the farm in Okeechobee. So this is happening sometime in the near future. In the next 5 years, I could promise you this. But anyway, I want you to help us lead some of the spiritual stuff. Okay, so I'm telling you that now.
Count me in.
All right.